Alright, before we started the next project, I wanted to talk a little bit about templates. We used a template to start the project that I gave you already, so just to refresh you, I'll go to Models and New and Browse, and I'll go get the template that we used to start with. Now basically templates are blank files that have a bunch of things set up. So if I click Open and click OK, it's not going to have a model in it, really, it shouldn't, but it does have a lot of settings, which includes like view setup over here, so like these schematic views, the sheets that I set up that had the schematic views already placed on them. If I go to Plan A1, you'll see the scope boxes, there's a floor in here they use as a base, a series of sections, a vertical reference plane and a horizontal reference plane. Also, these symbols for the sections and the elevation heads are unique and custom. If you go to the composition view, right, this sheet is custom. I've also made some schedules which you might be able to see start populating as you work. I've placed views on sheets already. So just sort of got it set up so when you started to make things, the file would begin to populate. Now some of the other things that you can set up are text, so you can see that some of my text is set to Century Gothic in some of the things. Also the families that are loaded, so if I expand families, you can see all of my section tails and my title blocks that I've imported in here, but if we come further down to families and go to, let's say, walls and basic walls, it's even the families that are inserted in here that are different. Like I've actually given you a bunch of generic wall types. And if we close this guy up and let's go to doors, there's a generic white door in here that I've given you. So there's a whole bunch of things. And in a minute we're going to add a few more, but there's several things that I set up in here for you guys just to make things a little bit easier so we wouldn't have to remake everything using Revit's out-of-the-box template. So I'm going to close this and go to New, and I'm going to start Revit's out-of-the-box sort of architectural template. So I just went to New, and in the pull-down I can pick Architectural Template and click OK. And if I do that, you're going to see it's quite different. It's very stripped down. Like you just get a level 1, a level 2 in a site, a couple of ceiling plans, some elevations, no sections. There are no sheets set up. Everything's an aerial. If I do a section, so if I go to View Section, it's going to do the default section, which is fine. If I go to the south elevation, right, you're going to see the typical section heads, and you can just have one with a head or without a head pretty much here. So everything is quite a bit stripped down. If I go to the families, right, and I expand the walls and the basic wall, you're not going to see those generic wall types in here. You're going to see sort of just the basic generic Revit. Now if I close this guy down, no, and I go to New again, and I open up, let's say, let's go to Browse actually. So I'm going to go to Browse here, and I'm going to pick the residential default template because there are more templates available. The one they use for the architectural is this default one. But if I go to residential and click Open and click OK, you're going to see that it opens up a much more extensive sort of set. So you get a footing and first floor electrical and framing. It gives you some sheets down here all set up with the numbering system for architectural, right? They even have so the electrical and some civil. And if I scroll up, actually let's scroll down and take a look at the families here. So if I go to the families and the walls and the basic walls, you're going to see sort of some basic brick on wood stud, wood shingle. So this is set up more for residential as opposed to the commercial one, which is going to be a little different. So if I close this and I go to New and I go to Browse, or let's actually just do the construction template and click OK. Right, and you're going to see the construction template is set up quite a bit differently, right? So go to south elevation, you can see the levels are more extensive. The families, if we go down to the families, the sheets are certainly less, right? We've got a lot of schedules. So, but if I go to the families and expand the walls and the basic walls again, you're going to see a different set of options there, right? It doesn't have all those residential. So each one of these templates can be set up individually. When you get to an office, they will have one set up for that office, and if they don't, you can help them do that. So basically, you should be using, I think that the template I gave you, you should be able to use to develop your own template and your own basic settings, and sort of develop it from there. And remember, always start from a blank file and you can add to them later, which is what we're going to do here in just a minute.